Welcome back to the Wet Mammal channel. Today guys, we're going to get stuck into probably one of the scariest experiences I've had in the water. It was a hell of a roller coaster and very, very, very stupid. Come take a look. The reason why we're doing the story like this today is because the amount of people that have slipped into the DMs asking me about the shark incident and when that video was coming. Unfortunately, the SD card that has all of that information was left in Fiji. I don't know if it's retrievable, but I hope it is. I left it on a bed in a place in the Osawas that I don't think is going to get revisited or will have been revisited between then and now, and it probably would have slipped down the back of the bed. So hopefully it's still there and I'm able to retrieve the footage. But I'm making this video just in case that doesn't happen. So we'll roll back to the very beginning and how the day started. It occurred in February 2022 and it was probably one of the stupidest things that I've done in the water, and I've done some really stupid stuff. So I headed over to the Osawas, which sit in the western division of Fiji. They're an island chain and they are absolutely amazing for beaches, paradise. When you see Fiji, you tend to see pictures of the Osawas. Stunning place and incredible diversity of fish to catch. I headed over there in the height of the wet season, being completely ignorant and ambitious, thinking that I was going to get a good weather window. What did I get? 2 weeks of the worst rainfall the Osawas has ever had. We had literally 12 days solid of rain. Almost 24 hours a day, tropical downpours. We're talking big amounts of water. I was quite fed up. I had my hike and spear trip planned. I also had 2 adventures, one in a kayak and one as a solo swim. I was going to do the kayak adventure first because that would have been safer. But basically I was on one island and then about a K&a-half across from me there's another island. The channel in the middle goes to about 60 to 80 meters. And yeah, it's a decent amount of current pumping through there, as you can imagine. I thought, right, I'll take the kayak and I'll basically kayak from my island to the other islands, and then I'll just kayak around it and shoot some fish. That would be cool. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't particularly kind and it gave me nothing but strong winds and insane downpours. It just wasn't practical to take a kayak. So, like a sane person, I couldn't take the kayak out because conditions were too rough. So I decided to swim it instead. So I got up early in the morning, 6 o'clock, and I got into the water. I'd planned to be in the water for about 9 hours. So I didn't actually take any water with me on this dive, so I knew that I was going to be very dehydrated. But the things that you do to your body in the name of fun, right? I'd swim out across this channel. The visibility is absolutely terrible. It's raining torrential. It's just, non-stop tropical rain. So here's a little clip just to show you what the conditions were like. There's a bit of wave, bit of rain, and not much viz.
So here are the conditions today, and it was like this when I woke up in the morning and I thought, yeah, let's go for a massive mission. I'm bopping up and down just to try and capture the waves beneath the water because it looks really cool. But yeah, you can see what the visibility is like, and the rain's pretty hard. No good.
Then we get into the islands. The visibility hasn't improved. The whole time that I swam over the channel, I couldn't see much, and knowing that there's bull sharks, tiger sharks and stuff, it was already quite a silly mission, and not quite a suicidal mission, but it was silly. I then decided to start doing some spearfishing, have some fun, try and explore the reef and find some clearer water. I couldn't do this. Why? Because of the rain was going absolutely crazy. But it wasn't too bad a viz. It was typically around 5 meters, which is definitely workable for a hunt. I made my way around the island, and about 6 hours into the island, I knew that I was going to have to start shooting fish because of, I was on the return stretch of the island. Because I didn't want to be hauling dead fish behind me the entire dive, knowing that it's a sharky spot, I only intended to shoot one fish. And this is where I really had to be choosy. There were double-lined mackerel that gave me options, there were moo that gave me options, tropical snapper, all sorts of funky fish, but I decided ultimately to go for a brassy trevally. The brassy came in on me really, really staunch whilst I was down on the reef. I was probably only in about 16 meters of water, but the brassy just came straight up towards me as I was perched on top of the reef. I lined up one of the 2 and just put a shot straight through his cheek. He then fights like crazy. See a little bit of shark action, but not much, just a couple of grey reefs. and it doesn't bother me too much. I bring the fish up, icky it, and then I chuck her on the float. I then continue to swim around the island, and this is when things start to get really crazy. As I come around the corner of the island, on the back side of the island, the current is absolutely ripping through. Now, I can swim forever. I can swim for days. But this stuff was hard to kick in. I mean, I was giving it my absolute all, and I was barely getting anywhere. It was really, really slow progress. But it was progress. So I continued to make my way around, and then this is when things start to get a bit hairy. I have limited viz. I'm losing daylight because of it's overcast, and it's actually approaching on like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, knowing that I've still got like 4 hours of swimming to go. If I don't pick up a faster rate of swimming, I'm going to be swimming across that channel in the dark. That isn't going to be fun. I'm like natural in the water, but swimming 1.8 k's across the water in the dark with a channel that's like 80 meters with bull sharks, tiger sharks. No, it's not for me, but we continue on. I start coming into some really, really cool territory, and the reef is just kind of like fractured. There's just these huge drops in the reef, and it's not quite like the vein systems that we're used to. It was literally like somebody had just cut rectangular slices out of the reef, and with that, in all these nooks and crannies, had all kinds of fish life. It was really going off. It was wicked. I did start to get a little bit worried when I came around the corner, and there was a grey reef who just happened to be up on the top water. And I thought, hold on a second, why are you on the top? Ah, you're after my brassy. Well, I can't have that because I've only got one fish. So I move over towards the grey reef and basically just shoo him off. And that's cool, he goes away, no dramas. But as I continue round, and the swell's absolutely pumping at this stage, but the visibility is good. The visibility around this side is like 8 meters. It's obviously getting flushed in blue water. It's good stuff. And I'm swimming away, like swimming along this line, keep on going, and I notice a black reef tip shark come in. These guys usually don't hassle you much at all. Out of all of the reef sharks, they're probably the one that is the least of a dick. So I didn't really think much of it. But he came round, checked me out, did his thing, and then he left. And then about 2 minutes later, he brought a friend with him. And they came back and they just kind of checked me out a little bit, and then they left. And then all of a sudden, there were 3. As there were 3, they started to get a bit closer. Their confidence grew immensely. When the 4th one came, they got even more confident. When the 5th one came, I was starting to think, okay, I'm a bit outnumbered here. This isn't ideal. I've still got 4 hours to swim, and I've got 4 black reefs hassling me in like 4 or 5 meters of water. When it really started to get hairy was when I turned around, and every direction that I looked, there was a black reef. They were coming in and they were just circling me, and you could see that they were starting to suss me out and work out, actually, there's more of us than there is of this guy. They had a couple of cracks at my float with the brassy, and I went over there, and I was very determined to keep my brassy and not set these sharks into a feeding frenzy. I recovered the brassy from the float, and I put it to my chest. I then swim along the surface of the water and just hope that they're going to lose interest, realise that I've got the fish, it's mine, I earned it, and they'll leave. They don't do that. They continue to grow in number, and they continue to get more confident. This is a worry. Eventually, they started coming in close enough within gun range. So I started making threatening gestures at them that I'm not to be messed with. I start lunging my spear gun forward with the spear in it, essentially giving the shark a bit of a poke, getting them to move on. They don't like that, and they do tend to bugger off. You're not actually penetrating through the shark, you're just giving them a little nudge saying, "Oi, get off my patch." Unfortunately, it's their patch, and this worked for 2 or 3 of them, but the rest it didn't. And when the other sharks saw that all I was doing was just giving them a poke and there wasn't much to worry about, their confidence grew, they came in closer. It got to the point where I was ramming the sharks, and this is where the footage kind of takes off. I've just pushed a shark away. They're all kind of coming for me, coming in for my feet and fins. I'm kicking them. You can see them react to the way that I kick and then go for. I'll let the clip play.
So this is it, the moment that you've all been waiting for. There was another clip that went before this that was 20 minutes long, and it obviously maxed out and created this new clip that was 5 minutes. The only reason why I have this clip is because I used it for a reel and TikTok, and basically, yeah, luckily it stored the whole file inside Final Cut Pro, so lucky us. As you can see, there's a few black tips at this point, just kind of going round. They're like mid-water, coming up to me, being real curious, coming up close. I'm trying like giving decent kicks, and I've got my float line being tugged to the shore by the waves as well, which isn't particularly fun. And yeah, you can just see that they're getting a bit more erratic, moving around me. And at this stage, I'm just trying to like keep swimming through, hope that they're just being a bit territorial, and eventually they'll just lose interest and get bored. One of the sharks here actually gets caught on my float line, and that's what's dragging me over towards the rocks. So it's pretty hairy. It's not ideal. This is not ideal condition. So these just aren't particularly ideal conditions for a solo dive. I mean, I do have a bit of visibility here, which is good, but I mean, yeah, it's just ridiculous. Silly Sam. There we go. Black tips aren't particularly dangerous, but in a situation like this, all one needs to do really is just bite me on my leg or on my wrist, and like without losing blood, I just wouldn't be able to journey back, and it would really suck. So yeah, that's why I opted to get out of the water when I did, and yeah, here we are, trying to get out. So in a situation like this, basically get your gun unloaded and just head for the rocks. Keep your head up as much as you possibly can, and constantly try and keep as much air in your lungs as you possibly can, so you're a bit more buoyant. And just kick and push. Use your hands to keep yourself off the reef, and just avoid waves dunking you onto reef and smashing your body against it, because that really hurts and it's far from ideal. So the black reefs actually followed me. The camera doesn't really do it any justice, but the black reefs did follow me right up into the shallows, and I was just like so confused as to why they were so keen on this brassy. And the funniest thing, or the unfunniest thing, Sam's stupidity, let's call it, was that this is actually a popular shark feed in sight. And unfortunately the sharks haven't been fed for 2 years because there's been no tourists in Fiji. So because of this, the sharks are already well established with humans and giving food. And this, to me, almost perfectly explains why the black reef tips were behaving like this. It's completely unnatural for them to behave like that. I've never encountered anything like that in my life with them, and I've swam with them for hundreds of hours. And I believe it's down to shark feeding. I don't personally partake in any shark feeding or any shark feeding related activities. I believe it's unnatural and creates an unhealthy relationship between sharks and humans that can lead to disasters and all sorts. But I'm out. I'm free.
I get myself onto the rocks and I think, great, I'm safe. I can chill out, let the adrenaline die off a little bit because it was absolutely pumping. And I can make my way along the rocks as far as I can before re-entering the water to swim across the channel. The only problem with this is that the rocks ran out pretty quick and there was a decent cliff. I did some rock climbing and I gained about 20 meters. After that, I kind of just had a bit of a reality check. Sam, you're alone on an island. You've just been incredibly stupid and put your life at risk. Why are you climbing up slippery, wet rocks where you've got like a 10-meter drop onto crashing waves and ocean? It's ridiculous. Behave. So I pull my head in, take myself down the cliff a little bit, and I re-enter the water. And I've only made probably 200 meters from where all the sharks were, but it's enough. I get into the water, I swim around, and I don't see the sharks again. It's absolutely incredible. After coming round the corner of the island, after about an hour and a half of swimming after the shark incident, there's almost no light left. We're definitely going to be swimming across in the dark. But the thing that got me through it was I could see my island and I could see lights on, and I just knew that if I just make it there, I'm going to be safe, sound, everything's going to be cool. So I tried recording on the GoPro, but the GoPro was completely flat at this stage, so didn't get any of the nightly swim. Before I made my journey across to the other islands, the 1.8k swim, I put my Brassy Trevally back on the float. I did this just because I thought if any bull shark or something's going to come launching up and I'm holding the Brassy Trevally like this, that's not how I want to go. I don't want to go being munched on accident by a bull shark or a tiger shark coming for what is just a nice edible fish. So with the Brassy on the float line, I make my way across. It's completely pitch black. It's dark enough that when I'm swimming through, I can see bioluminescent algae as I move through the water. It's pitch black. Super overcast, no moonlight, nothing coming through other than the lights that I can see in the distance. As I make my way over in the dark, I'm just thinking in my head, if I close my eyes and open my eyes, there's no real difference. But I'll keep them open because of it might do something. And I just basically realised how silly I'd been and what a stupid trip to endeavour. Don't rush, take things easy. Wait until you've got proper weather windows before you attempt challenges like this. I just got incredibly frustrated that it was raining for 10 days straight at this point and I hadn't achieved what I wanted to achieve. But you definitely need to consider that your life is always worth more than good missions. And I love good missions and challenges, and I think everybody should challenge themselves safely.
Alright, so I'm back on my island and well fed. I came home. Amazing reception, everybody waiting for me on the beach. They were a bit worried. It had been 11 hours, so it's a fair amount of time in the water, and the conditions obviously have stayed pretty much the same. I won't do it on my phone, the whole talk of everything. The GoPro is completely dead, and even with powered batteries not turning on, so fingers crossed there's some footage from this amazing day. And holy, bit knackered. That's the first time in a couple of months that I've done an 11-hour dive, so yeah, just really pushing the fitness and going for it. Bloody hell, had a hell of an encounter with some well, you'll see the fish. Anyways, I love the ocean. It's the best. It throws up its own challenges, personal and physical, like everything. It's just, yeah, it's so sick. I love it. I wouldn't change the ocean for anything in the world. Brutal, but beautiful.
This got out of hand and it was reckless on my part, but would I do it again? I would do it again. I just wouldn't do it again in the same conditions, or yeah, I would definitely take water with me and have a water break. I was incredibly dehydrated, and the next day I was sick from dehydration. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's a mental thing. I don't do it for the YouTube content, although people might think that. I do it for myself. I've always challenged myself. I always believe that you should challenge yourself. I've grown up doing a hell of a lot of stuff off camera, and even as an adult with my YouTube channel, I still do an awful lot off camera, and it's just because I enjoy challenging myself. I enjoy putting myself in these situations where you do need to adapt. You do learn an awful lot about yourself, and you just gain skills and experience through challenges like this. Some people are lucky enough that they don't need to attempt swimming around an island in huge tropical downpours, massive swell with ripping current alone to know that it's unsafe. For people like me, we give it a go, and yeah, luckily I'm still here. I'm still able to make videos, and yeah, what a trip. I would like to add on the end of this video that black reef tip sharks are typically completely chilled. Don't look at them as if they're like some angry beast and they're going to rip you to parts, and don't think that I'm trying to exaggerate this story at all. What happened happened. A bit of it was kept on film. Hopefully I'm able to retrieve the micro SD card from Fiji and get the full clip, and then I'll just make a full video of it and you guys can see everything. But a lot of people have been asking about the shark incident and wanted to know what was happening, where the clip was, and I've only got the 2 clips from the day because of that's what I used to make a TikTok reel. So yeah, there we go. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. We've got actual challenges and all sorts coming up next. if you've stayed to the very end and you liked my story, or you've had similar encounters with black reefs, or even just sharks changing their dynamic and changing their behaviors when they grow in numbers and when they know that you're starting to get concerned, fear is the number one thing. I do believe that sharks can fully read fear. They know when you've gone from a predator mode into a prey mode. And I think that day I was coming very close to becoming prey. Guys and girls, let me know what you think of this video in the comment section. It massively helps me change what kind of content I'm going to do in the future. If you liked it, let me know, and you want to see more of these kinds of stories and recaps, let me know. If you just want to see spearfishing montages and music and not have to put up with my voice, we can also do that. So drop it into the comments. I reply to every single comment, and that's fact. Thank you for watching. I hope you stay wet, and I hope you stay fed. Guys, also stay safe. Take care. Catch ya.